G'day guys, Jordan Biggie Steffens here, three-time Guinness World Record holder. Loving this Mount Rushmore top 5, top 3 series I'm going through at the moment, and we're working with Circus strongman, and something that's very near and dear to my heart now in the sort of coming to the end of my career doing Circus strongman, and wanting to go through, I guess, my top Circus strongmen and women of the past. And I've done Eugene Sandow and probably the most well-known circus strongman in history. And now moving on to a gentleman who, again, doesn't have quite the notoriety of a Eugene, but in the same breath is as strong, if not stronger, and in a way the strongman that most people call a weightlifter, very real, very giving to the sport. And Arthur Henning or Arthur Saxon, the Iron Master, as they called him, was, again, like they said, they called him a weightlifter, a guy who, at a young age, with his brothers, Kurt and Herman from the Saxon trio, travelled around the world performing feats of strength, and almost like the first family of strength. You could almost put them as three brothers performing this amazing feats of strength. And out of the three brothers, Arthur was probably the one that they would deem as the strongest and probably the most talented strength athlete. But Arthur Saxon in his day was doing some unbelievable lifts. Bent pressing near 170 kilos. I think unofficially about 175. I think officially 168. Doing huge, anyway overhead lifts. Over 200 kilos. One arm snatch like 90 kilos. Military pressing over 110 kilos. Behind the head, jerks at 140 plus. And we're talking in the late 1800s, early 1900s, doing clean and jerks with 155 kilos. Like, these are just phenomenal numbers for a gentleman lifting metal plates on, no doubt, not a roller bar. Probably the man who's probably had almost the biggest effect on weightlifting as we see the sport today, and taking it really out into the public. And I find it really, really cool to just sit and look at some of the things he's done through his time, like I said, performing with his brothers, lifting those huge numbers. And, from all the things I've read about Arthur, is he sort of came in that time where Eugene Sandow was such a massive name in the world, public superstar, really, and had written books, so he's publicized. And Arthur's come in, and a lot of these guys and athletes at this period of time, it's not that they wanted necessarily to be Eugene. I'm sure at the same time these guys inspired to be like him, but their goal was to beat him and to make it real. And that was always the thing about Saxon, is that he had done everything real. Like, everything he'd done was totally real and weighed and, officially done. So it's really interesting for that period of time to have someone that was wanting to be that honest with these types of things. And there's a funny story I'd read on a few websites and stuff like that, and I've got it in front of me here. And there was a bent press competition, which was Saxon's, one of his strong suits was the one-arm bent press. And like typical strongmen of that period, that come out and put a challenge out to the crowd. If anyone could lift this, wins a certain amount of money or something. And Saxon's put out his claim after doing the bent lift or bent press that if anyone else can come up and do it, the challenge is open, the bar is there, go for it. And unbeknown to Saxton, in February 26, 1898, Eugene Sandow was in the crowd at the time and accepted the challenge, which I can only imagine would have been an absolute thrill. I'm sure it would have been nerve-wracking for Arthur as well, but it would have been a thrill to have someone like that step up on stage and want to challenge you in something like that. That's kind of like, for myself, is putting out a challenge, and then one of my peers comes up and attempts to do the exact same thing. Um, and someone so well known, it'd be like an Ed Hall for me, or a Brian Shaw, or a Thor, or a Big Z. Someone from my period of time in the sport, um, coming up and doing the challenge. And Sounder actually stepped up and was not able to replicate the lift, and in retaliation took the Saxon trio to court, which is crazy to think about. So he actually won that case. Sandown won that case, and because the judge didn't actually understand the lift very well. So just amazing to see in that period of time how, like, almost like you can take strongmen to court. It's just crazy if you really think about it. So that was one story that I thought was really interesting through his career. As I was saying about Sandown being, publicated with his book, Saxon also had written a book as well, Development of Physical Power, by Arthur Saxon, talking about, training and stuff in that period of time. And these guys, again, are very much the fathers of what we know as bodybuilding and strength training today. Without them, the systems that we follow and the things we do would just not even be a thing. Like, without the trials and errors of these guys, because a lot of these guys were doing just things that, they randomly tried to see if it worked, the muscles and stuff like that. A bent press isn't something that people really do these days, but there was something that was a staple in strongman in that period of time. And I just think it's a really good thing to look back on, especially through history, to see where people have started and what they actually used to do, because it can be quite relevant to what we do these days. And again, someone like Arthur Saxon, who wasn't the biggest guy in the world, for that period of time, he was a very large man. For now, I think, from what I've read, he's around the 5'10" mark, give or take. And, he wasn't, like I said, the biggest guy in the world, but, he was a big, solid guy for that period of time. So I think the idea of, needing to be an absolute ginormous monster, to do certain things. I've seen guys that are a lot smaller, a lot more mobile, which a lot of these guys were, quite flexible guys, can move these types of weights by just being physically not quite as heavy or muscle bound or anything like that. He goes through his diet and stuff like that, having huge amounts of eggs in the morning, like 15 to 20 plus, porridge and fruits and stuff like that. Plenty of meat in his diet, and very much of that time period, and I think just very much more simple foods, simplified foods, which is obviously less processed and stuff like that, which obviously means, he was probably a lot healthier in ways. But at the same time, Arthur did pass away quite young. I think he was probably in his 40s at the time when he passed away, which is just so young for someone like that. Just an absolute legend of the sport. And probably for what hits home for me more is coming from that background of weightlifting, and he was really just a real strong man. 43. He passed away at 43. That's just way too young. Doing stuff real, putting the challenges out there, and really taking weightlifting and making it quite the thing to do in that period of time. Kind of like how Eugene made bodybuilding the thing to do. Arthur had made bar lifting and barbell work the big thing to do, and inspired a whole lot of athletes into the next future generations to take up weightlifting. And I think that's going to be one thing he hopefully be remembered for, is that, people respect him on his abilities as a strongman, as a professional, as a true athlete of Circus strongman, I think is a really good way of looking at it, is that he was a real athlete of the sport. He wanted it to be real, and for me, I think that just is the thing that hits home and why I put Arthur Saxon as one of my favourite circus strongmen of all time. So look, I'm going to chuck a few links below in regards to Arthur, and the Rogue series goes into it so much more than I have in this short 10-minute video, which I like to keep the videos nice and short. You can watch that, and it gives you all life stuff on him, photos and posters and all kinds of cool stuff. So there's my second one, Arthur Saxon, the Iron Master, I guess the grandfather of weightlifting as we know it, the weightlifters weightlifter. Plenty more videos to come. Like I said, I'm going to chuck those links in below. If there's anything you want me to chat about, I'm still doing my life as a drug-free athlete videos coming through, chatting with some more guys and girls fairly soon. But yeah, plenty of good stuff to come, and 2025 is just around the corner. So please, in the comment section, if there's anything you would like me to go through, chuck your favourite circus strongman in the comment section below. And if there's any circus strongmen that you want me to chat about, my thoughts on them, please don't hesitate to shoot it through. All right, guys, I'll leave you every time. Stay safe, stay well, stay strong. Looking forward to seeing you all in 2025 sooner rather than later. All right, guys, cheers.